What's going on Facebook? Ivan Temelgov here from RazorSharpDigital.com, a human marketing agency that helps brands find their digital governance through human-to-human convergence. I wanted to hop on here real quick, and I'm just going to roll with this with the crappy video, which I'm sure you guys can notice, but for whatever reason, I am appealed to Facebook Live for desktop. And here's a few things that I wanted to chat about today. First of all, I got a chance to interview Carlos Gil, who is, I consider is a social media influencer for the Human Business Narrative podcast. And I'll post a link to that also so you guys can download the episode when it becomes available in the next couple of days. And I'm very excited to announce that Chris Brogan, who many marketers and business owners probably know, is going to be one of the upcoming guests on the podcast as well. Again, the Human Business Narrative podcast. But the reason I wanted to hop on here, and now that we have those housekeeping items out of the way, is to talk about a few things that while interviewing Carlos Gil earlier today became quite evident. As a matter of fact, that were more of a reminder, I should say, the power of experience, connectivity, a story, and social media marketing. So it all trickles down to social media marketing. So Carlos is a social media expert, and this is precisely where all of this started. Is one of the main reasons why I wanted Carlos to come on the podcast is to talk about human centricity, the importance of community, engaging your community from a social media standpoint. So with that being said, some of the things that me and Carlos talked about, and I'm not going to spoil the podcast by any means, is he mentioned experience and how experience is a differentiating factor, especially in the social media space. And here's where I'm going with this is these days, there's social media strategists and practitioners all over the place. There's even people who just got on Twitter yesterday or just signed up for Facebook and suddenly they consider themselves social media strategists, practitioners, rather. I think the difference that Carlos pointed out that I think is extremely important to notate is experience. The reason there's experienced and inexperienced social media practitioners is because those people that are experienced have put in the time. Again, they've put in the time. I think it's important to notate that. And Carlos is someone who's been in the social media space for over 10 years, someone that's been mentioned in Entrepreneur Magazine, Forbes Magazine. He has spoken at conferences such as Social Media Marketing World. So he's someone that's been out there, someone that has a vast amount of experience. So he really brought forth the thought about experience and how important it is to have experience in the social media space, how important it is to have experience in general in anything that you do. It'll help increase the likelihood of success in whatever it is that you set your mind to. Now, the second thing that I want to talk about is connectivity and the way that pertains to social media specifically. A lot of people, even people that use social media for personal reasons, do not understand the purpose behind social media. Hence the word social. It's about connecting people and forging new relationships. Now, Carlos, I'm just using him as an example, as he was my latest guest on the Human Business Narrative podcast. One thing that he pointed out that's extremely important to reiterate here is it's about connectivity. Now, Carlos has over 100,000 followers combined across his multitude of social channels, but only a fraction of those people truly connect and engage with them. So this is really where connectivity comes into play, is how you connect with people on social media, the emotional impact, the interest that you spark. And believe it or not, there's so many companies, so from a business standpoint, so many companies that get this wrong. Even companies that have been in the social media space for a long period of time. Now, to spark emotional sentiment, emotional engagement with someone on social media, whether it's for personal reasons because you're trying to catch up with friends or family, or you're just chatting with a brand, or for business purposes, principally, it's very hard to do because it's all about the context and it's all about the messaging. Also, it's all about responsiveness. So, connectivity is a huge, huge part in the social media space. And the next part, this kind of segues into it, is a story. Okay, storytelling dates all the way back to the Romans, believe it or not. You can Google it. Storytelling is nothing new, especially in the marketing world. It's nothing new. I think that for marketers, everybody claims to be storytelling nowadays, and I think that what's imperative is to tell a very compelling story, one that's interesting to your audience, to your buyer persona. And that takes a lot because you have to identify people's interests and find out what is it that draws them, what is it that piques their interest. And that's really one of the main challenges, especially for businesses, is identifying their buyer persona, which is literally the first question that I always ask my clients is, who is your buyer persona? And you'll be quite surprised because a lot of companies do not know who their buyer persona is. And that's just the reality of it. If you don't know who your buyer persona is there's no way that you're going to be able to tell a compelling story because you don't know how that message is going to pertain and reciprocate to them. And then the last piece of this that I really wanted to round out is social media marketing. Emphasis on the word social. Now, one thing that me and Carlos were talking about in the guest interview earlier today, and by the way, before I forget, I will post the link in the comment section to the podcast so you can subscribe to it. It's a free podcast that's available. You can download it at your leisure at any time. Even if you're brushing your teeth in the morning and you want to listen to something to get your day going, wherever you are, it's going with you. With that being said, social media marketing. Now, a lot of companies are throwing buku dollars at social media marketing, and that's just it. They're throwing money at a problem. A problem is not going to fix itself if you don't take the action, if you don't put forth a strategy, if you don't implement, and if you don't execute, because execution specifically for a social media marketing approach is everything. As Gary Vaynerchuk would say, social media or everything you do really in business is about execution. Let me explain. Now, a lot of entrepreneurs and a lot of companies talk about how good they are at execution. 99% of companies fail at execution. And the reason I'm telling you this is because I've spent the last decade working at agencies and working for other companies in helping them execute. In order to execute on a campaign, on a strategy, you have to make sure they have the proper resources and they're all in sync and in tune on the same page. It's a very, very targeted approach. Now, there are companies out there who are doing it well and who are executing social strategies in the right way, but it in fact is a major challenge to round up an entire team, because you do need a team for a holistic social media strategy to help you strategize, implement, and execute. And that's the difference is how responsive you are, how good your content is, how good your messaging is. Does it resonate to your buyer persona? Are you responsive enough to your audience? Do you know who your buyer persona is? So these are some indications and tips that I want to share with you guys. And again, I encourage you over the next couple of days when the Human Business Narrative Podcast episode 2 with Carlos Gil becomes available, I encourage you to download it. This was intended to be a 20 to 30 minute discussion, but let me tell you, this is episode 2 of the Revive podcast, and it stretched over an hour. So the discussion got really, really deep. There's a lot of great takeaways here. And if you are a digital marketer, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a solopreneur, if you're thinking about starting a business, you really, really want to listen to this episode, because Carlos is also someone who lost everything. Literally. I mean, he lost everything. His condo got foreclosed on. His cars got repossessed, and the only option is for him to find his passion, his passion was social media. But being new to it, he had no strategy to it. So he was sort of forced into it to discover how social media could work from a business standpoint. And again, I'm using Carlos as an example because I think he's a prime example to iterate how you do social media marketing properly and how you do it improperly. Because a lot of companies are in the mindset of how many likes does our Facebook page, how many comments does it have, how many shares, and it goes way, way, way beyond that. So again, just to round this off, the power of experience. People want an experience nowadays. It doesn't matter what it is, what industry, or whether, what type of business you have. People want an experience. Number two, connectivity. People want to feel connected to a brand. And what I'm talking about is if they send out a tweet on Twitter, for instance, to a brand, and that brand takes forever to respond, then there's not really thorough engagement there. There isn't a thorough conversation, and that's what I'm talking about is connectivity. Is how fast you respond, how adequately you respond. Do you address the needs of the consumer, of the human being, to where they feel like they're connected? Now, the third thing is a story, guys. Storytelling is everything. And let me tell you this: is this the people that can tell compelling stories are advancing in the business world. And to tell a compelling story, though, I think it's something that you can teach yourself. It's something that you can learn. However, those phenomenal storytellers are natural to that. They're capable of painting Picassos with words. And that a story, compelling storytelling will always trump over everything, especially in business. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is social media marketing. So I'm rounding all this off with experience, connectivity, story, and social media marketing. So, and again, I want to apologize for the crappy video, but I'm really, really trying to get in the groove of Facebook Live for desktop. I think eventually I'll change my setting a little bit, but for the time being, I'm really enjoying it. And as you can tell, I'm hooked to my mic, by the way, which I'm absolutely enjoying. I got to give a shout out to my buddy Vernon Ross, who made some recommendations on the equipment. This shed is bombastic. I think it set me back about $100, but I'll tell you this: it's $100 worth spent because the clarity behind this is just superb, and I absolutely love it. So it was well worth the money. Okay, so that's on the last note, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments. Feel free to share them below, to the right, left, wherever. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope you guys are having an awesome Monday. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.